Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me.
To make my place settings or name tags, what I've got is some toilet rolls which I've painted black, and all I'm going to do is squish them flat and then cut them in half. I'm not actually measuring them in half, I'm just eyeballing them. So once you've cut it in half, squash the sides down quite nice and firm, and then fold it over and try and line up those two lines, and then squash that down as well. So you're left with a little square like that. So now what we're going to do is squash it down again so that it's flat, and what you're going to do is try and draw the shape of a cauldron on the one piece here. So going quite close to the edges, so just going round and then around. So that's all you're doing, and the same on the other side. And then cut those little tiny pieces on the corner out here, just those small pieces like this. I'm using a little nail scissors because I find it works just that little bit better. So you've got that little shape in the corner, and do the same on the other side. Now what you're going to do is fold it in the opposite direction so that those pieces are in the centre there, and then just take bottom part and round it off on both sides. So when you open it, you've got like your little cauldron. Now do the same on the back. Now on the top of it, you'll see you've got one side that looks like a cauldron, and the other side, the bottom is pretty much flat, and the top has got the shapes on it as well. And you take a pencil and going down about 1/2 centimetre, draw a line there, so marking it in, that will be 1 centimetre that side and 1 centimetre this side, and mark it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut along that line, that one and that one, and we're going to leave the bottom one intact. So you've got something like that. So when you're cutting your lines all the way down, cut them right to the end here where it folds, and then it'll pop up like that. So the next thing I've done is I've printed out some little rainbows like this, and I'm going to cut out one little rainbow like that. And then what you do is you take your little rainbow and put it onto your little cauldron. Try and line it up and trace around it, and then cut these sections off. So you're left with something like that. The next thing you want to do is try and make this little cauldron ridge look a little bit more prominent by just drawing a little bit darker. So your cauldron looks like that now. I've only used a pencil to just do that, but it's just to give it the illusion that it looks like a cauldron. Now I've got some of these chocolate wrappers because they're nice and gold, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a small piece out which is going to fit on this section over here, so that it looks like the cauldron is loaded with gold. So just place the paper over and then just turn it over and cut that small section out. And then crumple it just a little bit so that it looks like coins, if you can get coins to be that shape, but that's quite nice. And then I'm going to take some super glue and just going to glue it onto my pot like that and shape it a little bit more. So Your little pot looks like that. Now we're going to take some PVA glue and just glue the little rainbow on. Then on the sides, what you're going to do is you're just going to bend that piece under. So on both sides on the top. So just bending that wee piece under so that it squares off the top. Something like that. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking another chocolate wrapper and I'm just going to once again fold it to make it look like a pile of gold. So crunching it like that so that we're covering that hole that we've got at the top, and then just glue that down. And that's all glued down now. Because the rainbow only comes to that section of the cardboard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some super glue on there, which will strengthen the paper so that it doesn't buckle and bend. Now just paint the inside here and on this side black. And there's my little name tag completed. Now all I have to do is just write the name on each of these little cauldrons for my dinner table. For St. Patrick's Day, we always have a buffet, and my family think that whatever we eat and drink has got to be green. So when it comes time to dishing up food, it gets a little bit confusing as what you're eating. So what I'm doing is I'm making food labels. So I've printed out some of these lovely shamrocks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some spare pieces of cardboard and I'm going to just glue those onto there so that they're quite firm, so they can stand up, so I can actually write what the food is that you're eating on the label. So the first thing I've done is I've marked 2 centimeters on my piece of cardboard, which is where the bend is going to be. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of these out and then glue them onto the cardboard. So I've cut the shamrocks out like that, and as you can see the 2 centimeter line is there. So what I'm doing is I'm making it go over just by 1/2 centimeter so that when I fold it over you don't see any of the brown, and I've just cut them out in squares because once they're dry after being glued down, then I will cut out the top section so it can be freestanding, and then the bottom section is folded under. So I've glued the cardboard so that I've got the ridges that I can actually bend into. So as you can see there's a ridge there, and all you're doing is you're bending it so that you get your little stand for it to stand on. So the glue is all dry now on my little shamrocks, and what I've done is I've gone up by 2 centimeters, and then from there to there I've gone up by 4 centimeters. So this part here is going to get folded over, this part I'm going to keep as solid, and this top part here I'm going to be cutting out. I've cut the little shamrock out, and as you can see it looks rather plain. I've got this glitter glue pen which I'm using to just make small little lines in the shamrocks so that they look a bit more like shamrocks. So now when you have a look at trying to stand them up, if you stand it, it just falls over all the time. So now what you do is the spare paper that you cut off from them, just fold it in half and then half again, so you've got a small piece like this, and then just divide it into 3 like that. So now I take some sellotape and put a piece of sellotape on each side. So now on the back of it, at halfway up, you take your piece of paper and stick it down over like that. The next piece you take and you're folding over and you're bringing it up to the bottom like that, and then stick that piece down like that. so that when your little thing stands up, it doesn't fall over. To neaten up the exposed cardboard, I'm just taking some green ribbon and I'm going to glue it on with hot glue. I'm just taking my gold marker and just going around all my little shamrocks like that. So it's got the ribbon ending it off, and that's what it looks like standing up. Then I'll write whatever the dish is on those. And that's one of the food labels that will be placed onto the buffet table. The next decoration I'm going to be making is another hanging one. So what I've got is a toilet roll which I've painted inside and outside with apple green. And now I'm going to cut it into strips of 8mm. I'm just going to cut that up. So I've got them all cut up now. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 4 pieces and I'm just going to staple them together. So taking the 2 pieces. And then with one of the pieces, just take it and cut it in half. And I'm just going to use one piece and attach it in the middle of those 2. So for something that looks like that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to just buckle it in slightly and then turn it out, and at the very edge, just along here, put a staple in there. And then just turn it back in, and you've got the formation of your shamrock, and just go around and do all of them. And there you have your shamrock. Now I'm going to be just placing a piece of ribbon onto them so that I can hang them. So I've got a piece of ribbon which is 15 centimeters long, and I'm just going to tie it onto there. And there's one shamrock ready to be hung up. To make my hooks to hang them up, I've got a 0.7 gauge wire, and all you need to do is take your, I've got a long nosed pliers that has got a rounded edges on them so that they can bend circles. So just take your pliers, rotate it round so that it gives you your centerpiece, and then just keep it going round. So just keep going around until you've got something that looks like that. And then what I do is I turn it to go in the opposite direction now. And then just put the loops on the top here. So that's what my little hook looks like to hang up on. So what I do is I take my decoration and place it over the hook, and so if the wind blows it's got a lot of area that it's got to wiggle off before it can go on. And then I've got fishing tackle on top of my beams which I just attach this to, and the same thing, it just gets hooked on and it stays in place. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.